Here's a 10 coin typeset. Some people say 9 coins, but I count both the small letters reverse and the large letters reverse on the half eagles with a reverse mint mark. 3 types of gold dollars, 2 types of quarter eagles, the single $3 piece, and 4 types of half eagles. Here's an example of the Type 1 or Liberty Head gold dollar. It was minted from 1849 to 1854. It's actually got the same Liberty Head that the $20 gold piece has, at least in rough terms. That's one of my pieces, and this one came from the Elasberg sale, which I got at the Fun Show in 1999 in a heritage auction. It's the smallest federally minted coin. Here's the Type 2 Indian Head gold dollar. It was only minted in 1855, and I believe 4 of the 10 type coins are 1 year only, which makes them very much in demand and hard to come by the way. The 55D gold dollar, it's one of the rarest, most expensive, and hard to find coins out there. They're in constant demand. You can find them with a full date, which are more desirable than the ones with a weak date or partially missing date. Here's the Type 3 Indian Head gold dollar, minted from 1856 to 1861. Pictured is the very coveted 1861D gold dollar. We've never really found the smoking gun that says this number of 1861D gold dollars were minted under the authority of the CSA. It may exist out there somewhere, but I'm convinced, based on what I have, what research I've done, that it was less than 1,000 that were minted after the mint swung to the allegiance of the Confederacy. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. It's in, tremendous demand, very high price to match for the 61D. So most people, for a type coin, they'll steer clear of that. Although sometimes I think, if you can get a real rare coin for a type coin, you're a few steps ahead. Here's the classic head quarter eagle, another one of the only minted 1 year varieties. It's got the mint mark on the obverse of the coin, which is kind of neat. It's not as rare as a lot of the other quarter eagles, but it's so popular because it's a type coin that they tend to bring pretty stiff prices. Here's a Cornet head quarter eagle. This one was minted from 1840 to 57, skipped 58 and then struck some more in 59. Something interesting that I've noticed, I'm not sure if others have or not, but in the years 57, 58, 59, and 60, Charlotte made them in the years that Dahlonega did not. Charlotte made 1858 and 1860 cement quarter eagles. So I don't know if that was happenstance or by design, but it's certainly interesting. That particular coin is one of my pieces. This is the James Stack quarter eagle. It's one of the only attractive 40Ds I've ever seen. The color's really unusual. That's the way it looked when it came out of the safety deposit box after 44 years. It was put in there when Mr. Stack died in 1950, and that's the way it looked in 1994. I didn't buy it out of the sale, but I tracked it down later from somebody in this room. But It's actually one of my favorite pieces. Well, I could. Thank you, Doug.
Who was it?
James Stack. Oh, no. Doug, I bought it from Doug. Actually, there's a neat story. All these coins have stories, by the way, but I don't want to bore you. Saw it in a stack sale. Jack Hancock paid 11 grand for it, raw. It went into the North Georgia collection. It was in the little flyer that Jack and Doug put out in the summer of 1997.
1999.
It was 97 because I've got it at home.
You just made my whole night, by the way.
It was actually before. No, it was 90. I'm sorry, it was 98. Yeah, it was 1998. Okay. It was before the fun auction in January of 99. So it was the summer before. It was you're right, it wasn't 97.
I think you should
But
return the
you know,
coin now.
I didn't. There were no photographs. I didn't pick up on it being the stack coin somehow. Saw it again at the 2003 World's Fair of Money in Charlotte. Doug had it very briefly. When I went back to look at it again, it was gone. And I finally bought it at the A&A in Baltimore in, help me Doug, 2008. Yeah. I bought it from Doug at the Baltimore A&A 2008. Anyway, most of them have shattered dies, have been stripped and dipped, and they're ugly as all get out, but that's one of the few that has eye appeal in my view. Here's the 1854 D $3 piece. They made 1,120, and a much higher percentage of them survive compared to, say, a quarter eagle, half eagle, or gold dollar. At least 10% survived. In fact, I can remember one person that actually, I think, owned 11 examples. So he had like 1% of the entire mintage. It's very popular, very expensive. As a date, maybe not as rare as some of the other coins. Here's a classic head half eagle. It was only minted in 1838. It has the mint mark on the obverse, which makes it very interesting. And it was the first denomination ever struck there, April the 17th of 1838. Here's the Cornet head half eagle with obverse mint mark. I count it as a separate design type. That's not mine. I tried, when I picked the photographs, I tried to pick by photograph that illustrated, you know, the features on the coin as opposed to being all mine or any other consideration. But I think it's a coin that's in great demand. It's one that I tend to like to buy every time I see a nice one. But anyway, it's one of the 10 types. The next year, in 1840, they moved the D mint mark to the reverse, and they basically made two types. One with small letters on the reverse from 1840 to 42, and then during that year they transitioned to the large letters reverse. That particular coin was one that I bought after the fact. It's actually a Harry Bass coin, but it's got the tall D mint mark, which is a very rare variety for that year. And here's the Cornet head half eagle, mint mark on the reverse, large letters, a lot of different years to choose from. That is my 61D. It was, let's see, it was graded in 2004. It's never been regraded. It's the most original uncirculated 61D I've ever seen. JD called it a dirty unk. I just like the sound of that. But anyway, it actually came out of the woodwork from a family that had ties to Lumpkin County, Georgia, which is Dahlonega is the county seat. And anyway, somehow it wound up in my set. Once again, using data that I have accumulated, I believe that after the allegiance swung to the Confederacy, they made no more than 1,000 additional half eagles. Now you might ask, well, what am I basing that on? Well, I'm basing it on some hard data points, and one of them was that we know the records were turned in for January and February by, to the federal government by Dahlonega. And then we know that at the end of the first quarter of calendar year 1861, that it's well documented that the Dahlonega Mint sent $6 in assay coins to the Confederate capital of Montgomery. Now what does that tell us? It tells us it either had to be 6 $1 pieces, which would have been totally out of family for a month's production, or it had to be a $5 piece and a $1 piece. Theoretically, it could have been 2 quarter eagles, but we've never seen any evidence that they minted quarter eagles in Dahlonega in 1861. R.W. Julian had done some research that showed that during that period in time, the mint was sending 1 assay coin for every 1,000 coins minted or part thereof. So that's where I'm getting the less than 1,000 from. Something else that I've noticed is that if you look at the amount of gold on hand at the end of the first quarter and compare that to the end of the second quarter when the mint shut down, you see 2 things. You see the amount of bullion accumulating by a certain amount, and you see the amount of coins on hand decreasing by almost an identical amount. What does that tell you? That tells me that they were taking in the deposits and paying depositors with coins that they'd already minted. So I don't think any coinage took place in Dahlonega after the end of March. Another thing that gets overlooked is who was doing it? It wasn't Confederate soldiers. Confederate soldiers couldn't possibly have pulled this off. It was the very same people that had worked there all along. They were just reporting to Montgomery instead of to Philadelphia. So you might see some, interesting things on coinage, but don't attribute it to the fact that some Confederate soldier came in there and put down his infield and started minting coins. It didn't happen.